Welcome guys, I'm just going to do a short video on how I designed my ships in the start of the campaign in 1890 and for the first 10 years or so. How to make the game a bit more entertaining in this era when the ship's gun accuracies are terrible. So all I use at the start is torpedo boats. So this is the design that I use. So we've got 6 torpedo tubes, 3 on each side. We've got 2 guns, 1 on either side to balance the ship out. 29 knots. Reduce these both down to minimum so you can increase the displacement. Maximum bulkheads to prevent flooding damage, so you don't sink to flooding off a small hit. And then I just take light and reduced to reduce the amount of flash fire chance, so just to keep that as low as possible. And what we're going to be doing, I've got maximum length on the gun as well, and as big a gun as possible. What we're going to be doing is trying to get the torpedo tubes as good as possible in the early eras, because torpedoes are so much more effective than guns in the first 5 or 10 years. So the idea is to get approximately 2 kilometer range on the torpedoes with the fast torpedo tech. So we're going to want torpedo propulsion, but also what we are aiming for is to upgrade from a torpedo boat to a light cruiser, but the light cruiser needs deck torpedoes to be useful. The underwater torpedo tubes are not really good enough. So to get deck torpedoes on a cruiser, you need torpedo tubes. Now I don't remember which one it is, whether it's tube mechanisms or torpedo launcher, but one of these two needs to be Mark III. Once you get Mark III, you can then use deck torpedoes on the cruiser. So what we're going to be doing is putting the priority into torpedo propulsion until we can get fast torpedoes that go 2 kilometer distance, and then we're going to be going for Mark III of either torpedo launcher or tube mechanisms, whichever one it is that unlocks the deck torpedoes on the cruiser. Okay, so like I say, I'm not going to be doing any battles. This is just purely to show you the ship designs and the research. Okay, so we've unlocked our first torpedo propulsion tech, and this is a passive tech, so you don't need to add it to your ship, but you do need to refit your ship for it to apply. So go on view, click refit. As soon as you click refit, it will apply the passive techs that have been researched to your ship. So you don't need to do anything, it will automatically apply them. So now you can just save design, and all the passive techs that you've researched will now be applied to the new ship. You will obviously then have to refit each ship, so click on the new design, click on refit, select all of your ships, and then refit them. As you can see, it only takes 1 month, so it doesn't take a very long time to refit a lot of the techs. If you're changing a lot of things on the ship, it will increase it, but passive techs like that only take a month. So you don't need to do this every time if you don't want to, but if it's particularly impactful, it's worth doing the refit. So if you can increase your torpedo range from 1 kilometer to 2 kilometers, then obviously that would make a big difference. So our main aim is to get fast torpedoes. So I didn't particularly need to do this because I still haven't got fast torpedoes, but I'm just showing you how to refit a ship. Okay, so we've unlocked our fast torpedo propulsion now. It's almost taken 2 years, so I wouldn't recommend getting into any fights until you've got fast torpedo propulsion. If you're using torpedo boats, obviously. If you're just using ordinary gunships, then you're perfectly fine. But without fast torpedo propulsion, you're going to have a tough time landing torpedoes. Okay, so we've got the fast torpedo propulsion. So we're going to refit this ship again. So all we're going to do, add the fast torpedo propulsion. It doesn't actually take up any weight, so you don't need to rebalance anything. We haven't really got anything to change, even though we've got 6 tons. There's no point in changing any of these. So once we get larger torpedoes, we'll be adding that in. But until we get that, there's no point in changing anything else. Now, when you get double and triple torpedo tubes, it might be worth putting them instead of these single ones down the middle, so they can shoot both directions. At the moment, obviously, these can only shoot one side and they can only shoot the other. So it's entirely up to you. Sometimes I prefer to have them like this, so I can shoot left and not shoot all of my torpedoes at once, and then I can shoot these to the right at a different ship. So it's entirely up to you which setup you go for, whether you want to stick to the single ones, or if you go for doubles and triples and have them down the centre. Okay, so we've put fast torpedoes on the ship. Now this ship is in good condition to actually engage in combat. Okay, so we've got another torpedo propulsion tech here. So it increases the torpedo range, which is what we want. Now, I'm not in a war at the moment, so you don't need to keep refitting your ships after every tech if you're not in a war. But we'll assume that we are in a war. So we would want to refit this. And we're now at 1 kilometer range with the fast torpedoes. So we still want to continue on until we get approximately 2 kilometers. You can continue on until you get 3 kilometers if you want, but I find that 2 kilometers is just about the right range for the fast torpedoes to be effective. So we're going to save this ship design. So we've got another torpedo propulsion tech here, which is 3,000 kilometers, or meters, sorry, 3 kilometers. Fast torpedo propulsion reduces that by 50%. So we're still only at 1,500. but we're getting close to the golden number of 2000. So we're going to refit this ship. As you can see, oh, it's 2 kilometers. It's only 30% or 35%, sorry, reduction. I thought it was 50. Okay, so we've reached the golden number, 2 kilometers. So you can continue on until 3 kilometers if you want, but now what I would be doing is taking off the torpedo propulsion on the research and just researching the torpedo tubes. So we're going to just research torpedo tubes until we get the Mark III, whichever one it is, can't remember which, torpedo launcher or tube mechanisms. Okay, so we've got tube mechanisms 3, so we're going to check to see if that was the one that we needed. So we're going to go on new design and hit light cruiser, and we can't put deck torpedoes on yet. So it's not tube mechanisms 3, so it must be torpedo launchers 3. Okay, so we've got triple torpedo tubes, so let's just check to see if this is the tech that we need. It is, so it's actually triple torpedo tubes that we need. So let's just have a look on the research tab. So it's triple torpedo tubes, so I was wrong on both of these. So yeah, triple torpedo tubes, that's what you need to be able to design a light cruiser with deck torpedoes. So I'll quickly design a light cruiser and then I'll show you what I've come up with. Okay, so this is what we've come up with. If you move the front tower on this particular hull into the centre, you can put the deck torpedo up where you would normally put the front tower. So that lets it shoot forward, and you can still have forward facing guns as well. So we're going for the smallest guns possible. So we've got 4-inch caliber main guns and 1.1-inch caliber casemates. So these are there simply to just try and deal with the enemy torpedo boats, but we're giving them the best, longest length, so they're as accurate as possible. So we've got 3 times 3 deck torpedoes, and then a handful of guns for the torpedo boats. Now the reason that this is a good alternative to the torpedo boats is the armour. Obviously torpedo boats are unarmoured, where the light cruiser you can whack a load of armour on, so they'll survive a lot longer, but they come at a cost of speed. So if I try to put the speed up anymore, this particular hull doesn't like it, and it will automatically put this up by 5% just by going up 0.1 knot. Now each hull has got an ideal speed that you can't really go over without incurring massive weight and cost penalties. So the light cruiser 1 will only reach approximately this speed. So they're the two different torpedo designs. So what I'm going to do is get in a battle and demonstrate the two different designs in a battle. Okay, so I've started a war with the French, and the first battle that we've encountered is 50 torpedo boats versus 3 battleships. So we're obviously got a lot of torpedoes that we can be firing off. You don't necessarily need task forces this size. I usually run between 20 and 30, but I had 50 in the port, so I just sent them all out in one task force. Okay, so you're going to want all of your ships individual, so you can control each one if you need to. So the first thing I always do is just break them all up. You can just hit the apostrophe twice to break them up. So what we're going to be doing is setting them all to screen. So they are to the south, so we can choose this guy as the lead ship. So deselect him, then tell everyone to screen him. So I'm going to leave avoid turned on, because while they're in screen you want them to try and keep a distance from each other. And so with screen, they're all going to stay relatively close to the lead ship. If you put them in follow or battle line, the rear ships are going to be stuck at the back for ages. So screen is a good way to get all your ships moving in one direction quite quickly. As you can see, they're all keeping up with the lead ship quite well. Looks like this ship should be the lead one, really. So yeah, as you can see, you can just quickly select different ships, individual ships, and control them. So that's why I always break them up into individual ships. Makes controlling them a lot easier. So obviously torpedo boats are incredibly fragile. You will lose a lot of them. But if you can take out a few battleships for a few torpedo boats, then it's worth the losses. So as you're losing ships, obviously you lose the screen order to the ship that was sunk. So you're going to need to set them all to screen another ship, or control each one separately. So because they're moving in pretty much the direction of the enemy, I'm just going to leave them to move as they are doing. So we're just going to be doing a drive-by basically. So we've landed a torpedo and got a flash fire, so that was nice. Unfortunately, these don't seem to want to fire the torpedoes off. Landed a couple more on this battleship. few more torpedoes on this battleship. Sadly, we got some duds there. So now what you can do, drag select, hold down control and right click to tell them all to turn around. You will unfortunately get some friendly fire, but it is what it is. They're only torpedo boats. Got another torpedo here, a couple more here. And there we go. We took a few losses, but we took down 3 battleships. So I'd say that's pretty acceptable. And more to the point, it's incredibly quick. So you're not wasting ages firing a stupid amount of shots with terrible accuracy at each other for hours. You just go in, fire off some torpedoes, and the battle's over within a few minutes. So that's the torpedo boats. I'll move on to the light cruisers if we can get a battle with them. Okay, so we've got the light cruisers up next. So 2 battleships, heavy cruiser, 3 light cruisers and a torpedo boat. So same deal as the first time with the torpedo boats, break them all up into individuals so you can control each one if you need to. Enemy are to the southwest. So set them all to screen. I'm just using the AI to locate the enemy. I can turn it off now if I wanted. So the good thing with these light cruisers is obviously they've got armour, so they can actually sustain a few hits. They can't take too much punishment, but they'll survive a little bit longer than the torpedo boats would. Unfortunately, we've got a torpedo detonation. So I'm just using this ship to go towards them as to herd everyone else in this direction, basically. So he's just going to be a decoy while everyone else gets into position. So now you can select individual ships, start controlling a different ship, leave him to just go forward. So we've managed to land one torpedo, but unfortunately I got my right hand launcher taken off. But we got an ammo detonation on that battleship. So we've still got the left hand launcher that's working. So I can still fire my left hand launcher off over in this direction. A few more torpedo hits over here. Sounds like we've got a few more torpedo hits on this light cruiser. So I think what I'm going to do now is tell everyone to screen this ship now that he's the closest forward to this battleship. Unfortunately, I'm landing a few friendly fire shots back here, so if you wanted, you can turn everyone's torpedoes off and just turn them on when you actually want to use them to prevent friendly fire. But I'm just being lazy and leaving everyone's turned on. Unfortunately, I got another ammo det. I did manage to get a couple of torpedoes off, but it would have been nice if I'd have got some more off. So I'm just using control click on everybody at the moment just to get them all moving forward. Unfortunately, we got an ammo debt just as I was about to shoot my torpedoes, so that was a bit unlucky. So now that all these are all clumping up, I'm going to want to screen a ship just to get them to all separate a bit. Otherwise they won't fire the torpedoes if they're too clumped together. Got a couple more torpedoes landed there. And down goes another battleship. We've spotted an armoured cruiser over there. Just going to send these lot over in his direction. These can come and deal with this light cruiser. And then these can go and deal with that light cruiser. So I'm just holding down control and right click to send them all in the general direction. Then when they get close you can use the screen order to separate them out, or individually separate them out if you want. One more light cruiser down. Down goes another. So as you can see with this battle and with the last one, you will take casualties, you will sustain damage, but you will complete each battle a lot quicker than you would do if you were just using guns. Also, when you're using smaller ships like these, you get more battles. I don't know why, but the battle generation's more often than if you were using larger ships. I think different ships have different criteria that they can actually participate in battles. So, for example, some ships, like torpedo boats, get the mission torpedo boat attacks battleship, or whatever the mission title is. So I think the smaller the ship is, the more missions that are available to you. I think that's how it works anyway. been a bit unfortunate with the torpedoes here. Missed about 15 of them, but you can't be accurate every time, unfortunately. So, unfortunately now, with all these ships getting so close, there's a risk of them not firing the torpedoes like here because they don't want to risk friendly fire. So that's why I'm not sending them too close to the enemy ships. So there we go. They're the two different types of torpedo boat that I recommend. So we're on 1896 now, so for the first 5 years or so I recommend the torpedo boats, and then between 95 and 1900 I recommend using these light cruisers, and then from here on out you can start going into the actual proper gunships. So I don't really know what the best route would be in terms of the gunships. So you can go down the rangefinder path and get the radars, or you can go down the big guns path, get some nice big 15-inch guns, that type of thing. Or you can just leave your research on neutral, so no tech priorities, and that way everything will gradually increase at a nice speed. You don't get any tech penalties if you don't put any priorities. So if you set priorities, everything else gets reduced significantly, so it actually reduces your overall tech speed. So I would recommend at this point onwards, now that you've got these two ship classes set out, just leaving your tech on neutral, let everything build up gradually, so you don't lag behind on any specific techs. So yeah, hope this was helpful, hope it was enjoyable. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon.